The Flames danced in the Cleveland night as jersey after jersey burned in the streets. LeBron James, once their king, now their betrayer. But what those angry fans didn't know was that this was just the beginning of a story that would end in the most emotional redemption in sports history. July 8, 2010. A date that would forever be etched into the hearts and minds of Cleveland sports fans. It was supposed to be a celebration, their hometown hero finally announcing he would stay and bring them the championship they had waited 52 years for. Instead, it became the night that broke a city's heart and changed the landscape of professional basketball forever. For 7 years, LeBron James had been Cleveland's golden child. Drafted straight out of high school at just 18 years old, he had carried the weight of an entire franchise, an entire city on his shoulders. The billboards around Cleveland didn't lie. We are all witnesses. They had watched him grow from a teenager with unlimited potential into a 2-time MVP who had taken a historically struggling franchise to heights they had never imagined. The Cavaliers had built everything around him. They had traded away promising young players, signed aging veterans, and spent millions trying to surround their superstar with the talent he needed to win. But despite LeBron's individual brilliance, despite seasons where he dragged mediocre rosters to the playoffs through sheer force of will, the championship remained elusive. The 2010 playoff loss to the Boston Celtics had been particularly devastating. In the deciding Game 6, LeBron appeared disengaged, almost detached, as if his mind was already elsewhere. Whispers began to circulate that he was preparing to leave, but Cleveland fans refused to believe it. This was their son, their chosen one. He belonged to them. As free agency approached, the speculation reached a fever pitch. ESPN's cameras seemed to follow LeBron's every move. Where would he go? The New York Knicks offered the bright lights of Broadway. The Chicago Bulls presented the chance to follow in Michael Jordan's footsteps. The Miami Heat whispered promises of championships alongside fellow superstars Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh. But Cleveland fans held on to hope. Local businesses put up signs begging him to stay. Children held homemade posters outside his home. The city had prepared for a celebration. They had reserved Public Square for a massive rally, assuming their king would announce his return. Then came the announcement that changed everything. LeBron James would reveal his decision on a live 1-hour ESPN special titled The Decision. The entire basketball world would be watching as he chose his fate, and Cleveland's. At 9 p.m. Eastern Time, millions of viewers tuned in as LeBron sat across from ESPN's Jim Gray in a sterile community center in Connecticut. Cleveland fans gathered in bars, living rooms, and public spaces, their hearts pounding with anticipation. This was supposed to be their moment of triumph. For the first 30 minutes, Gray asked seemingly pointless questions about LeBron's childhood, his high school career, and his time in Cleveland. The tension was unbearable. Then, finally, the moment arrived. "The answer to the question everybody wants to know," LeBron said, his voice calm but his words carrying the weight of history. "In this fall, this is very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat." The words hit Cleveland like a physical blow. In bars across the city, grown men sat in stunned silence. Women covered their faces and wept. Children who had worn his jersey to bed every night stared at television screens in confusion, asking their parents what this meant. But it was what came next that truly ignited the fury. LeBron spoke about his excitement to play with his friends in Miami, about how he felt this was the best opportunity to win championships. He showed no emotion about leaving Cleveland, no acknowledgement of the pain he was causing the millions of fans who had supported him unconditionally. The reaction was immediate and volcanic. Within minutes of the announcement, Cleveland fans poured into the streets. What had been planned as a celebration became a funeral pyre of disappointment and rage. The images were searing. LeBron jerseys being doused in gasoline and set ablaze, fans stomping on his posters, throwing his merchandise into dumpsters. At a local bar, the owner ceremoniously cut up a life-sized cardboard cutout of LeBron with a chainsaw while patrons cheered. But the most devastating response came from Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert. In an open letter published on the team's website, Gilbert called LeBron's decision a cowardly betrayal and promised that Cleveland would win a championship before LeBron ever would. He wrote of the self-proclaimed former king and guaranteed that the Cavaliers would recover from this shameful display of selfishness. The letter was raw, emotional, and completely unfiltered, a owner speaking not as a businessman but as a broken-hearted fan. And Cleveland loved him for it. For 4 years, LeBron's name became synonymous with betrayal in Cleveland. When he returned to play at Quicken Loans Arena with the Miami Heat, he was greeted with a hostility rarely seen in professional sports. Fans threw batteries, held signs calling him Quitness instead of Witness, and booed every time he touched the ball. Meanwhile, in Miami, LeBron was learning hard lessons about legacy and leadership. The Heat's initial arrogance, the not one, not two, not three championship prediction, gave way to sobering reality when they lost the 2011 Finals to the Dallas Mavericks. LeBron's performance in that series was widely criticized as passive and hesitant, particularly in crucial moments. But something changed after that loss. LeBron began to mature, to understand that talent alone wasn't enough. The Heat would go on to win championships in 2012 and 2013. But even as he celebrated, something was missing. The titles felt incomplete without the approval of his hometown. By 2014, LeBron had reached a crossroads. He had proven he could win championships, but his legacy remained incomplete. Meanwhile, Cleveland had been quietly rebuilding. Through a combination of draft picks and savvy trades, they had assembled a young, talented roster, led by Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. But more importantly, LeBron himself had changed. The 29-year-old who contemplated returning to Cleveland was not the same person who had left 4 years earlier. He had learned about leadership, about carrying the weight of expectations, and about what it truly meant to be the face of a franchise. The decision to return wasn't made in a television studio this time. Instead, LeBron announced it through a carefully crafted essay in Sports Illustrated titled, "I'm Coming Home." The words were personal, reflective, and acknowledging of the pain he had caused. I want to give Cleveland fans a championship, he wrote. That's what drives me. The announcement sent shockwaves through the basketball world, but nowhere was the impact felt more deeply than in Cleveland. The same fans who had burned his jerseys 4 years earlier now lined up for hours to buy new ones. The same streets that had witnessed angry protests now filled with celebration. When LeBron returned to Cleveland for his first game back, the atmosphere was electric. A sold-out crowd gave him a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. There were tears in the eyes of fans who had sworn they would never forgive him. There were tears in LeBron's eyes, too. But words and emotions only meant so much. LeBron understood that true redemption would only come through results. Cleveland hadn't won a championship in any major sport since 1964. They had suffered through the drive, the shot, the fumble, and countless other heartbreaks. LeBron's promise to bring them a title wasn't just about basketball. It was about healing decades of sports trauma. The journey wasn't immediate or easy. The Cavaliers reached the finals in LeBron's first year back, but lost to the Golden State Warriors. The defeat was crushing, but it only strengthened LeBron's resolve. The following year, facing the same Warriors team that had set an NBA record with 73 regular season wins, Cleveland found itself in an impossible position, down 3-1 in the finals, facing elimination. No team in NBA history had ever come back from such a deficit in the finals. But LeBron refused to accept defeat. In Game 5, he dropped 41 points. In Game 6, he did it again. In Game 7, with the championship on the line, he delivered the performance of his life. 27 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, and the block. A chase-down rejection of Andre Iguodala that is considered one of the greatest defensive plays in NBA history. When Kyrie Irving hit the championship-clinching three-pointer with 53 seconds remaining, LeBron fell to the court in tears. He had kept his promise. Cleveland was finally home to champions. As confetti fell from the rafters of Oracle Arena, LeBron's thoughts went back to those burning jerseys, those angry fans, those 4 difficult years. He had left Cleveland as a young man seeking easy success. He returned as a leader, ready to do whatever it took to deliver on his promise. The 2016 championship parade in Cleveland drew over 1 million people, the largest gathering in the city's history. LeBron stood on that float, holding the Larry O'Brien trophy, looking out at the sea of faces that had once cursed his name and now chanted it with love. The decision taught us that sometimes the greatest victories come after the most painful defeats. That redemption isn't just about saying sorry. It's about doing the work to make things right. LeBron James left Cleveland as a villain and returned as a hero, proving that it's never too late to come home. If this story of betrayal, growth, and redemption moved you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Share this with someone who believes in second chances. And remember, sometimes the longest road is the one that leads you home. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.